Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing some guided meditation for past life regression. Imagine that you are an oyster cracker floating in a bowl of soup. I'm not exactly sure what oyster crackers are, or rather, what they're supposed to be. I know that they're little bland wheat crackers that people generally only eat with soup. I don't often see people eating oyster crackers by the handful as a standalone snack. That's not to say you can't do it though. That's not to dissuade you from doing so if you already do. All I'm trying to say is that, to me, oyster crackers are primarily an accompaniment to soup or broth. You purchase a bag of oyster crackers with the intent of putting some of them into your soup and then lovingly scooping them out with your spoon and enjoying them. That's how I use oyster crackers, at least. It must be nice to be an oyster cracker, with your life's purpose being to enhance a bowl of soup. Floating around in a bowl of broth would be pretty great. It's warm, fragrant, savory, delicious. You might bump into some chopped vegetables, potato, carrot, or celery, tomato, beans, who knows what else. Soup is a limitless food. As long as it's real wet, it can be soup. That's my definition, at least. If I were an oyster cracker floating in a bowl of soup, I would like to explore before getting slurped down. I would like to ride the waves in the soup bowl and visit all the different zones. The potato zone, the bean zone, the forbidden zone. The forbidden zone in a bowl of soup is where all of the oil or fat collects and pools together into a beautiful blob on the top of the broth. That's where I would go if I were an oyster cracker. Where would you go? Oh, I see. You would want to visit the garbanzo beans. Not a bad choice. Not at all. Really, I don't think there are any bad choices you could make if you were an oyster cracker floating in a bowl of soup. Even if you just wanted to sit right where you landed until you became fully saturated with broth and sank beneath the broth's surface. There's nothing wrong with that. That'd be a fine thing to do if you were an oyster cracker. If you were an oyster, on the other hand, you'd have fewer options. I'm pretty sure oysters just live on rocks in the ocean. That might not be so bad, staying in one place attached to a rock, seeing different plants and animals pass you by. You would have your home probably surrounded by other oysters, and you'd spend your day resting and eating and observing everything going on around you. If you didn't want to observe everything going on around you, you could just shut your eyes and sleep for a while. Do oysters have eyes? Who cares? I'll tell you one thing though. Oysters look like rocks from the outside, but when you open them up, they're filled with goop. And sometimes, if you're real lucky, within that goop is a little pearl. I don't know what pearls are made out of. Probably plastic or something. But it's pretty amazing that a thing that looks like a rock filled with goop can make an orb that's so valuable. It just goes to show you, looks can be deceiving. But looks can also not be deceiving. Sometimes things are exactly what they look like. Take a tree, for example. A tree looks like a tree, and it is a tree. Even small trees, like broccoli, they look like little trees, and that's what they are. There might be broccoli in that soup, but not if I were making it. I don't think I've ever made soup that has broccoli in it. I don't put trees in my soup. Just oyster crackers. If you put an oyster cracker in the ocean, do you think it would naturally head toward a bed of oysters? I think so. I think the waves and the currents and the breezes would push it toward a big rock covered in oysters, so it could be with its own kind. The real question is, do you think an oyster would eat an oyster cracker? Would that be a type of cannibalism? Do oysters even like wheat? I mean, there's probably not that much wheat in the ocean for an oyster to eat. Maybe there is. Maybe wheat gets washed out to sea more often than I think. I'll have to look into that. I'll let you know once I figured it out. But until then, I think it's a worthy thing to think about. Would an oyster eat an oyster cracker if given the opportunity? I think so. I don't think an oyster would feel bad about it. Sure, they share the same name, but an oyster cracker looks a lot different than an oyster. For one, oyster crackers don't look like rocks. For two, oyster crackers are not filled with goop. And for three, oyster crackers are crackers. They're not animals. If I was a scientist who studied and discovered animals, I would give the ones I discovered such cool names. I feel like scientists who discover new things really waste their opportunity a lot of the time. It's my understanding that if you discover something new, an animal, a plant, a planet, you get to name it whatever you want. And people just name them boring things. But not me. If I ever discover something, and I get to name it, I don't care what it is. I'm naming it the banana tooth shark. If I discover a shark, that'll be pretty cool. But even if it's something different, a lizard, a vine, a jellyfish, an ant, any of those things would be so cool if you could call them a banana tooth shark. Think about it. It would be headlines in newspapers all over the world talking about the newly discovered banana tooth shark. Everybody would turn to page 15 to read about this incredible discovery. And they would be delighted when they read that it wasn't a shark at all, or a banana. It was something completely different, separate, individual, and distinct. I would travel the whole world if that's what it took for me to discover a new species that I could call the banana tooth shark. I'd sleep in the deserts. I'd climb to the top of mountains. I would do whatever it took. Because it's not every day that you get to discover something nobody else has ever seen. It's not every day you get to catalog something brand new. It's not every day you get to tell somebody, hey, check out this cool banana tooth shark I just found. What an incredible day that would be. It would be like your birthday and Halloween and St. Patrick's Day rolled into one. A truly magnificent event.